The city of Spokane, Washington is poised to pass a slew of new rental regulations that have the potential of putting landlords out of business. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over just all of these new rental regulations they're trying to put in place in Spokane, Washington. Now, apparently, they are going to be cracking down hard on landlords, and unfortunately, it's not just the very, very small percentage of landlords who are not following the law, but they're going to be going after all the landlords within the city. And this is in Washington State, which is obviously one of the most left-leaning, anti-landlord places in the entire country. So it shouldn't come as a surprise. But man, some of the stuff that they were listing in this article, it's insane, okay? And I just don't even know if I would even be able to operate a business there, so it's crazy thinking that they can just come in, change the rules this much in the middle of the game and expect landlords to just, fall in line and not fight it, okay? So, I really, really hate this sort of legislation and regulations and all that. They'll sit there and they'll claim, oh, well, this is just to make sure that landlords are being good to their tenants. Well, like I've said a million times, okay? 99% of landlords are following all the laws, all the rules, all the regulations already, okay? 99% of landlords are treating their tenants with respect. They're just doing things like they should be doing. But there's 1% of landlords who are not, right? And those are the ones that they create all these laws for, trying to catch. Yet those people, they don't stop doing the things that they want to do when they pass new laws. No, they continue to do those things, right? But all of the good landlords get caught up in this wide net that they cast out there trying to catch those bad landlords. And you know what happens? Those landlords say, hey, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm getting completely out of the rental business. I'm selling my single families to owner occupants. I'm selling my multifamily off as condos or whatever, right? And the affordable housing becomes less and less because landlords have to, comply with just so many rules and regulations that it takes professional property management, it takes lawyers, accountants, etc., in order to run your business successfully. So yeah, this is not a good thing for tenants overall. It's very bad for landlords. And, the only people it's going to please is a few activists who don't know anything about running businesses, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you believe that in the majority of cases, landlords are doing the right thing? Do you believe that we are the ones who are following the law and doing everything right, treating our tenants with respect in the grand majority of cases, okay? And you can't pull out one little anecdotal case and say, see, this is the proof right here. And I'm like, yeah, you pulled out a couple of anecdotal cases from a city where there are literally tens of thousands of landlords, and then you claim that, see, this is a huge problem. No, it's not, okay? You need to, if you have a problem with those two landlords who aren't doing things right, you go after those two specifically and do not punish us all. Anyway, let me get into the article because I'm ranting and I haven't even started yet, okay? This article is coming from thecentersquare.com, and it says, Spokane ponders expansion of tenant rights. And whenever you read the word tenant rights, that means anti-landlord legislation. So let's get into it. The Spokane City Council is poised to adopt new regulations for landlords at Monday's meeting, but two members don't believe the local government is entitled to being too involved in the rental housing business. This has the potential to run smaller landlords out of town, said Councilor Jonathan Bingle. He said the proposal is intrusive enough that landlords are even required to help tenants register to vote, which shouldn't be their responsibility. There are so many foreseeable conflicts to this that are really nasty, he said. And yeah, I'm glad that there is a council member there who at least has some common sense. Like, why are landlords helping tenants register to vote? Okay, that's just one example of how overbearing and ridiculous that these regulations they're trying to pass are, okay? And, for people outside of Washington State, outside of Spokane, whatever, remember, all of this stuff, it slowly bleeds into places that you invest, where you live, right? You think that are safe. So, I mean, I see this sort of stuff being mentioned here in Nebraska, middle of the country, very conservative place, very strong property rights state. But you start to see, people talking about this sort of stuff here. I told you already about how they're trying to get rent control passed in Florida, and you wouldn't think that would be possible. But hey, like I said, they are taking their examples from these, left-leaning, far left progressive places, and they're saying, hey, we're going to do the same thing they're doing. Well, that's why I bring these articles up. We are essentially adding to the cost of housing while we have a housing crisis because expenses occurred by the landlord are going to get passed on to the tenant, said Councilor Michael Cathcart, who plans to introduce a series of amendments to the proposal. The draft ordinance to establish a local program to assist landlords and tenants has been brought forward by Council President Breanne Beggs and Councilor Karen Stratton. The legislative body will consider this program at the November 28th meeting. The city of Spokane, as a municipal government, has a duty to protect public safety, to foster safe, livable, and affordable housing for everyone, reads the proposed code. By implementing the program, the process for people to obtain rental housing will be streamlined by establishment of universal background checks, tenant relocation, and landlord mitigation programs, said Beggs and Stratton. So yeah, that's the first part. Okay, that's not all inclusive, right? But keep in mind what I just said in that last paragraph, where they're going to try to have universal background checks. So basically, they're going to have one company that does backgrounds for tenants, and that's the only company landlords will be able to use in order to search the tenant's background. And whatever that company charges is the only amount landlords will be able to use. Now, they say that this supposedly is going to be more fair to tenants, right? But what I say is that, hey, what if this company doesn't do a very thorough check or excludes certain information that the landlord needs in order to make the decision? Then that background check is not helpful. It's not enough, okay? Just because I put a tenant through a screening that says, hey, their credit is okay, and yeah, they have a job, that doesn't mean that, the tenant, didn't have an eviction somewhere in their past, that all I'd have to do is call up their previous landlord, and the previous landlord's like, yeah, I didn't file eviction, but I was about to evict them. Okay, So, but fortunately, they left on their own before that could happen, and I didn't have to file. That's the kind of information I would like to know. Okay, and there's so much more involved in the background investigation than one little universal provider can offer. Not only that, but they also said that they would have tenant relocation and landlord mitigation programs, right? And so the relocation programs they put in place are saying, well, if the landlord chooses not to renew your lease, then they have to pay you to leave. Okay? That is a joke. I hate that kind of nonsense, right? The landlord shouldn't have to pull thousands of dollars out to give you a bonus to get their property back. Okay? You do not have the right to stay there indefinitely. I've heard of stuff like this that has already passed in like Seattle and in California. So, I'm highly opposed to that sort of thing right there. Their policy, if approved, will require landlords to register all units, even unattached accessory dwellings, on their property. They must purchase business licenses for each rental and pay a $10 fee for every unit if they have more than 3 rentals. Okay, so there is some more right there. They want you, for every rental you own, to have a separate business license, okay? Now, this is particularly bad for, like small landlords, but imagine the bigger landlords, okay? Imagine here you own, like, let's say you own 50 houses. You have to get 50 separate business licenses? That is so stupid. Okay, you run one business and it's a rental property business that encompasses all 50 properties, right? And you shouldn't be forced to get 50 separate licenses. And on top of that, a $10 fee for every unit you have. So in the case of large landlords who own like 100 units, you're paying a fee for every single unit, right? This is a cash grab. Okay, a cash grab to expand the bureaucracy. And I'll get to that point as I continue to read. Landlords must also complete an online training module created or sponsored by the Spokane Landlords Association or otherwise approved by the city. Failure to complete this training within 90 days of being issued the license for a rental will result in penalties. 75% of landlord business license funds will be paid into a code enforcement account to cover operational costs, including the wages of staffers who will inspect all rental properties. So basically, they want, all these inspections, all these business licenses and fees and all this garbage to go to pay for their staff, okay? Not because all of those properties were in such bad shape, right? That's my gripe about all of this, right? They have a few properties that were in bad shape. They already probably had procedures and code enforcement people in place to go handle complaints about properties that were not safe and not livable. They probably already have that in place. I mean, most cities do, right? But then they want to create a new, larger bureaucracy with multiple staff, etc. And the only way they can pay for that is by forcing, landlords who own properties that are not a problem to pay, ridiculous inspection fees, to pay ridiculous business license fees. So you're paying all these additional fees. So what does that tell me as a landlord, right? I have to raise my rents in order to cover the cost of all these additional fees. And if I'm not doing that, then I'm going to be losing money. So yeah, they've created a situation where landlords are going to be raising the rents to cover all of the additional bureaucracy. And not only that, but I think that you're going to have better property management. A lot of landlords right now are going to not be able to handle all of these new rules and regulations that are proposed, okay? I know that as a small landlord who owns, 4 rental properties here in Omaha, Nebraska, if Omaha, I'm sorry, 5, I'm sorry, I forget how many I have. I own 5 rental properties here in Omaha, Nebraska, right? And I would have a lot of trouble trying to apply for business licenses and pay all these fees and set up inspections and go through all of this nonsense that the city wants, right? So yeah, I don't blame the landlords for being upset with this. And it's overreaching, it's ridiculous, and it will accomplish nothing because people like me, we already keep our properties in good shape. So you're going to go in there, I'm going to pay you hundreds of dollars for business licenses and inspections, etc. So you can go in there and tell me, well, yeah, your property's perfectly fine. Or they might even nitpick a few things or fine me for some BS, which is garbage as well, okay? So it's bad when you're chasing people like me, small landlords, out of your city. I don't want to invest there. I don't want to put any money in a place where I have to jump through all these hoops. And a lot of landlords are just like me.